Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought on another fantastic guest. But before we go to him, please hit like, hit subscribe. I currently have a Indiegogo running for the Oswald Chronicles, and this is one of the fantabulous books that's on there. Right? Check that out. That's the first issue. It's a 4-issue limited series called Fallen Gods, where Oswald fights mad gods and insane wizards and that sort of thing. And it's 4 issues. It's 140 pages. All 4 issues, so go check it out. And without further ado, here's our guest, Ryan Hääck.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I really do.
How you doing, Ryan?
I'm great.
And just to let everybody know, it's Ryan's birthday. All right.
That's right.
So happy birthday, Ryan! And before we even start, I have his link down below. He has an Indiegogo going. Go check it out. Go pick up a book. It's called Bric-a-Brac. It's incredible. I know I got the first issue, and I'm gonna get that second one. Right. So Ryan, let's jump right into it, man. So you've been, how long have you been producing comics so far?
So producing, well, at first I was trying to get published in small editorials or things like that. So I've been in some things like Hyper Epics or Oneshi Press, or really small things with my small books, a little like 5-page books. And that was really fun. But I realized like I really wanted to do crowdfunding, and I had kind of a body of work that I felt like maybe I could go somewhere with something like that. I wanted to produce a full book. So yeah, last summer was when I produced my first one. It was a 76-page anthology of 11 short stories I wrote by myself, but collaborated with 11 different artists on.
Wow.
And so it's a black and white horror stories. And if you look at my Twitter every month or so, usually every month, I have a new episode of this series uploaded to my website. And it's called The Unspeakable Text. And so, with the next one, I want to have 20, maybe 25, 30 stories in the volume, just to give people a really good value. And they're all different artists from all around the world, and that I've collaborated with. They're not, I didn't commission them. So it's really a true collaboration in every sense of the word, and there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in it. I letter it myself. And so it's just really, really, it's kind of raw. Whereas Bric-a-Brac, it's kind of like polished. It has kind of, I don't do the lettering myself, and it's just a different thing. So that was the second book I successfully funded, and that was last December. Mm-hmm.
Got you.
Yeah.
Now, just to put this in perspective, how old are you?
So today I'm 22. Yeah, 22 years old.
So today, say you're 22. All right.
Yes.
So I find this fascinating because my first published book, I was probably a year or two younger than you. Yeah, I think I was 20.
Yeah.
When I first published my first book. So yeah. So I mean, it just goes to show, because a lot of the people I interview, they're in their mid-30s.
Mm-hmm,
some
right.
are a little bit older. I'm way older. So but it just goes to show that you start at a young age and you build yourself up, and that's what you're doing, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of different avenues. I also write prose. I am starting to dabble into filmmaking, maybe making that something very because I don't do the art, and so that's a critical thing. And I've always in my life, like, I've wanted to have an art. I've wanted to do the art in a comic book, or I wanted to have a visual medium that I can tell stories with. And film is such a good medium for that. And so I've been doing those. And then I write a lot of prose, and I try to do a lot of different things, though. Because if you just keep your mind just on the comic books, I feel like you kind of put yourself into a bubble. And I didn't think I could write prose for the longest time, but then I started to realize that I could. You just, especially when you're younger and starting out, you need to just try to do everything possible, and so you never know where it could lead you. Like, that's what I've been finding out. And, I want to make an impact. Like, I want to be a storyteller people remember. I want to make something that kids like. I like kid-oriented stories. And so I want to be like George Lucas or something like that. Like, that is my goal. I want to have an influence, and that's why I'm very serious about, what I do. I feel like so.
No, that's fantastic. That's definitely the right road to be on. Now, as far as influences, what was that first book that got you influenced in, like, let's say, wanting to do indie work or like indie comics and that sort of thing?
Yes. So indie comics, I would say, I really, let's see here. Well, it wasn't an independent book, but I think the book that really got me into wanting to write comics was, it was a Grant Morrison book. It was his Batman and Robin book, and I just didn't realize how much fun you can have in comic books, and that was just really showed me. I mean, the great art, and it was like one of the best pairings ever. And I always read that, and I look back to it as like, this is what really got me into this medium and showed me the power of it. But I would say that's the book that's in a company that I really liked. But independent books, man, what I think I really liked Spawn, and I know that you can debate about the quality of writing. It's that first issue is written very well, but Todd McFarlane is not a writer, and I think he's shown that again and again and again. But the concept of Spawn and what it's created for him and in media like the cartoon show, I just think that really did inspire me. I was like, I want to create my own. And the fact that Todd McFarlane has basically has made Spawn his life, like that is so awesome. Like, what other person has made one character his life? I think there's probably some, like the creator of Cerebus, or these certain, or well, I forget the name of his name, but these independent characters, people kind of just create their and use and like surround their lives with. That's something Todd McFarlane has done, and it's really inspiring to see that him now at 60 years old is still pushing to make a movie of this character he created so long ago. And so I would say that in terms of independent books, Spawn was huge for me, because I think that regardless of the storytelling, I think the art is great, the production quality is great, and the influence is huge.
Right.
So.
No, I got you. But yeah, I think Dave Sim and maybe Stan Sakai will be the two of the other standouts.
Exactly. Or Eric Larson too, I guess you could say. But
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
right.
Larson's
but yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's a little known guy called Fred Perry.
Yes.
He does a book over at the Antarctic. Yeah, he does. Wow. Now I'm drawing a blank. It's Cheetah. Oh wow, it'll come back to me. He's been doing it forever. So yeah.
Yeah, no, just those. I mean, and he last year I think, and that documentary really made me realize how awesome Todd McFarlane is. Like, you don't realize how cool the guy is until you really see how he got to where he is. He through all of this hardship, through all of this, the dude is awesome, and he deserves everything. And I just think that that's a really inspiring independent comic book. I think that's like, it's the most successful independent comic book, and I just think that I would say that that's a huge inspiration to me. Not that I'm saying I want any of my series to be that hugely successful. I mean, I would hope, but it's just nice. It's just that people like that are fuel, and I think it gets people excited about independent books.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. So let me ask you a question. So you write prose as well?
I do.
Also
yes.
Write prose.
Yep.
Now, who would you consider your influences in prose writing?
I would say Stephen King, or I like Eyes of the Dragon. I think that's like my favorite Stephen King book. Or, I mean, Chaucer, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I just, I've only really started writing prose, like for maybe like 6 months or so. So I'm still starting to read more things. I used to be afraid of it, as I said to you before. I used to be like, really, I didn't want to do it. I didn't think I could do it. But I think when you don't draw, and you write comic books alone, you limit yourself so much. And that's why I think that people who do independent books who just write it, you need to do more. You can't just write I think that you need to, maybe do prose or write plays or write screenplays or something like that. Or people just who are screenwriters. I think there's a need to have it completed. If you have work that's not completed, it honestly hurts your self-esteem. Like, if your work is not completed and you just have all these scripts piled up, you have to finish it. So make movies, make books, write novels, do things that are you're not comfortable with. Get out of your comfort zone every day. And that's kind of that's why I started writing prose, because I wanted to finish things. I have so many ideas I want to finish. How do I finish them? Well, I can do this. And so that's kind of where it came about.
Gotcha. I'll tell you a quick story.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, I produced a book called Dreamweavers, and we only got up to issue 3. It was supposed to be a 6-issue limited series. This series sat on my back like a monkey, and it was just screaming like a demon in my ear, finish me, finish me, finish me. So I ended up finishing it as a prose. So I ended up creating a novel out of it. So sometimes that's just what you have to do. You have to sit down and just, finish it.
It might not be the optimal way, it might not be like
Yeah, it might not be exactly what you originally envisioned with the artist, but it's going to be something, and it's going to be something different. I think for myself, it worked out. So, it's definitely a good way to go.
Right, exactly. So, I think that's totally true.
So I mean, you've done what, like 2 Kickstarters, and this is your second Indiegogo?
So I've done a lot of campaigns. In the last year, I have. If I fail this campaign in the last year, I think I'll have failed 6 campaigns in a year. But out of those and then there's 2 of them I succeeded in that year. So, you know what I mean? There's a lot of failure, a lot of, with this kind of crowdfunding stuff, it's super difficult. So, I mean, I've had 2 that succeeded. First, somehow, I don't understand how the first one did. And it kind of got me like, okay, we can do this. And then I failed one. Then I did this one. And then I failed many after that. There was a drought, as I guess I will call it. But I think that in that you can find inspiration to just keep going. I don't know. I mean, I think that the whole idea of just I know that the book can succeed because it's a good product. Like, I think that I've heard a lot of people say that it's a good product. It's just about how to get it out. And I don't know. You just have to keep toying with it. And like I said, I'm still trying new things. But I've had 2 successful campaigns.
Okay. Now with those failures. Yeah. Right. Now, obviously, after each one, you learn something. You learn something. So what is like your biggest takeaway that you learned from these failures?
I would say don't let the crowdfunding be your main focus. I think that a lot of people, that's the main thing, is that I can really, when it's the only thing in your life, when it's like, I need this to succeed or I can't create my art. You have to, again, like I said, you have to be doing other things. You can't just let it take over your world. Because people, I used to do that, and I would get really sad when I was failing, or it would hurt me. Now I don't care that much how it's going, because I know that someday it will happen. But I used to, when I put everything on it, all my bets on it, it becomes like a weight. And like when someone when someone refunds, it hurts your soul, and it's like, how could you do this to me? And or when you tell a friend, hey, I have this book up, and they don't respond, or they just say, oh, cool, it's like, and they don't back the book. It hurts you personally. But if you have more things than the campaign going on, I think that it doesn't hurt you as bad. So number one, that's number one. I would say just have other creative ventures. Don't make the crowdfunding your only one, especially when you start out. Now, if you created your life around it, like if you are someone who, if you're Brian Polito, right? Obviously, it's a big deal. But he's ensured that he can succeed those campaigns. He has a track record. He has backers, I think, that, and it is still a gamble, but he does have people who want Lady Death books. There's no doubt about it. But the second thing is just try new things, post every day, and get on shows. Get your face out there. Show people the book. Tell people about the book. Show people you're excited about the book. And there's so many avenues to do that. And I don't care if you don't believe the political views of someone who you get on the show with or whatever. Just that should not even be a factor. And I don't understand. Like, I don't care who you are. I will go on your show and talk about my book. That's just who I am. I don't care. And because if you want to have me on, that is I don't know, man. I just, that's such an incredible thing to think of where I was 6 years ago. Now someone wants to have me on their show to talk about my work. it's unbelievable. And so I would just say those two things are really important. Just don't take it too seriously, and advertise as much as you can. It doesn't matter who you're advertising to, just do it, just do it constantly. So
now the two books you succeeded with, one of them I know was Bric-a-Brac. Which was the other one?
So that was the Unspeakable Text volume 1. So it was the 11 stories, black and white. Right. Okay. So, yep. And that was two totally different genres, completely different. But I don't know. Again, it's kind of like, I genuinely don't understand how the first book succeeded, but it was a miracle. And, sometimes you get lucky, and it gave me the confidence to continue, and I'm going to continue because it's the best deal ever. It's a great deal, it's worth fighting for. It totally is. Right. Even though there's a lot of hardships, it's really difficult, and it will take a pound of flesh. It is worth the fight, 100%.
Now, when you worked with these 11 different artists, how did you work with them? Did you discuss plot with them, that sort of thing? Or did you just say, like, did you give them a script? Did you work? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. A full, right. I write these for the other series. I write, I was just, before I talked with you, we're writing another episode. They're usually 4 to 5 or 3 pages. Just a small. Usually they're really concept driven, just kind of like, what if this? And it's like the Twilight Zone in a way. But yeah, I found a lot of artists on ArtStation. Like every night, or a couple nights a week, I will go on ArtStation and just look for artists. Just look and look for. You're not trying to look for a perfect artist, obviously. Just looking for people who have a lot of talent, who have skill, who can obviously understand body composition and storytelling. And honestly, the whole idea of the Unspeakable Text is it's kind of like an outreach. It's like you can get published for the first time. It's basically the idea of like, here you can get on this website and we can do this awesome thing that you can put in your portfolio. And man, ArtStation is one of the best places, I think the best place to find artists right now. Instagram is okay, but I'm telling you, Instagram and the algorithm, some of the best artists I've worked with, they are just tanking on Instagram. They just cannot get their work out there. And so when someone's 30K or 40K, it doesn't necessarily mean that their quality of work is unbelievable. It's just that they are really good at working on Instagram. So ArtStation is totally different. You just see the art. It has nothing to do with who's popular, who's trending. It's nothing like that. And it's not based around that. And so that is why ArtStation rocks. And I would suggest anyone who just wants to collaborate to go there. And that's where I find all these artists. And I just send them the script and say, hey, I have this idea. Would you like to collaborate with me? Here's my website of 20 other stories of this series. Would you like to work on this? And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. Obviously, it's a collaboration, not a commission. So that's desirable to some, undesirable to others. It's just the hard truth of it. You're going to get told no because there's no money involved. And that's how comic books work. So yeah, that's kind of how that works.
All right. No, that's cool. That's cool. I'm a little older than you, so I use DeviantArt. Yeah. DeviantArt is it has a lot of, I don't know, man. There's a lot of like porn on DeviantArt now. It's now it's not what it used to be. Like 10 years ago, DeviantArt was probably just as good as ArtStation. But now it's really full of, I don't know. Every time I go on, I run into really nasty images I just don't want to see. And because, just kind of like hentai or stuff like that. Just something I don't want to see, And so ArtStation is very clean, very clean. And if they find something that is provocative even, and they will make sure to like, not show it to you, And so I don't know. I just think that DeviantArt has lost favor with a lot of people because of that. It's just gotten overblown with weird things. I don't know. Yeah. It's hard to if you go on it and just scroll for a little bit, you will find that it's different from what it used to be. I guess I've curated my line so very well. Yeah. So I only keep it to comic art.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't really want to see anything else. I just want to see comic art. More comic art, more comic art, because that's what I'm looking for.
Exactly.
But yeah, I got you. And I know a lot of people migrated from DA to ArtStation.
Yeah.
I've been on there a few times, but I have to take a deep dive now.
You definitely have to. If you're trying to look for an artist, it is amazing. It's amazing. And then they have a tier directly for comic books and the latest stuff. And there's just amazing artists there. And I don't understand why more people aren't using it. So they should use it.
That's actually really cool. Now, with your process as far as your artists, like you're obviously sending them a script, you're getting it back, like when you send out a script, right, and you get back your work, are you getting back more or less what you've requested?
Yeah, I mean, my artist Rafael Sam, speaks. Well, he's in Brazil. He lives in Recife, Brazil. He does not speak English. Usually I take out all the dialogue and then give it to him and just give him very simplistic. And I do write the dialogue before, but I take it away, and then when he gives me the art back, I adjust it. Because you can't just. It's really hard to just copy and paste that, especially when you're in such a collaborative process. He's doing, not just is he doing the line art, but he's doing the coloring. He's doing a lot, and he does draw digitally, but still it's a huge undertaking, and he's an excellent artist. And so, yeah, that's kind of how our collaboration works. Very simple. And he understands what I'm trying to go for usually. Because he did the character designs for the characters. It's not like I'm asking him to draw something someone else drew. He really did create a lot of the universe, and he is a huge part in its creation and the way it looks. So I mean, he really understands kind of where we're going with the story. It's lighthearted. We're not going to show anything crazy, but there are some things that are different maybe than what you'd expect, but that's why I think that it's a fun process. It's different, and you're not always going to get exactly what you imagine. But with Raphael, at least, I've never gotten a panel back that I was like, I can't work with this. It's never that way. He always understands the basics. Like, you could definitely read the book and look at it and understand sort of where the story is going without even dialogue. Really, I believe I think you definitely could. So I think that is a sign of a good storyteller, and he is clearly a good one. Yeah.
It's comics 101. You should be able to look at a story and just follow it just by looking at the pictures.
Right.
Yeah, that's just about anything. Which is fantastic. That's a good way to go. Now, what are the difference you find? Like, okay, so you've done Indiegogo, you've done Kickstarter. Like, what are the differences between the two platforms that you find, both positive and negative?
Yeah. Well, I would say that Indiegogo gives you more tools. There's no doubt about that. They give you the ability to extend. They give you the ability to have add-on perks, which is huge. When you don't want to confuse people who are trying to buy your book, it can be really confusing on Kickstarter when you literally have to make a new tier if you want to add something specific, just a small thing. So that's a great thing. And then featured perks, which I think some people tell me that the featured perks do make a difference. I'm not sure if that's true. I don't know. There's so many other things. They give you the ability to, I think Indemand is a huge thing. But it also is kind of a curse because, people who are in Indemand, they sometimes end up getting a lot more backers after the campaign is over, and they didn't make funds for that. And then they have to go into their own pocket and pay people, especially for these campaigns that go years. Just like, oh man, like now I have to pay all this out of pocket. This is not exactly what I expected. And so, yeah, I mean, that's one of the dangers with that Indiegogo thing is that it's just, it's cool that you can make it into a shop, but crowdfunding is not shopping. And they even tell you that on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. It's like crowdfunding is not shopping. They tell you that legitimate. So to make it a store is kind of odd to me, but I understand it. I understand that, especially for my book, I did keep it in Indemand until Christmas, and then I cut it off. But Kickstarter doesn't give you more tools, but the theory is that you will be able to succeed because of those limitations. And I think, their concept, which I think is convincing, is that especially if you keep it to 30 days, you will be able to succeed. Like if you get over 20% in those 30 days, you will most likely succeed. And I think that that's true. I think it is true. I think there's more math. There's more. It would suggest that that's true, at least in their studies. And so I think that it's a great platform probably for people to start out. But I don't know. I think I would rather have more tools than less. But at the same time, I'm going to Kickstarter because I think that it's a fan generator, whereas Indiegogo is not a fan generator. It's just kind of like the hot topic of the day. You get on the thing, and then suddenly when a new book drops and it gets really a huge reception, it takes your place. Whereas Kickstarter is definitely a fan generator. It gets you out there. It promotes you more, and I just think it's friendlier to the creator. And they have a lot more options too. They can make you a project they love and put you on their front page. I don't know. I think that they're both great things. They're both great tools that people should use and not be afraid of. Like, don't be afraid of failing on them, especially Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Like, there's just like the beautiful thing about failing on a crowdfunding campaign is you owe nobody anything. You owe nothing, and that's amazing. Like what other case scenario in life do you owe people nothing when you lose? Like, there's not a lot. I mean, sure there are a lot, but it's a good deal. If you win or lose, if you succeed or fail, you don't, So I just think that they're both great platforms. But I'm sure there'll be a new one in the next 10 years that might improve upon that. Maybe it'll have be more like a shop or something. But right now, Kickstarter and Indiegogo are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, my advice to everybody is like what I'm doing currently with the Oswald Chronicles. I do my campaigns on Kickstarter, and I've done a number of them. Now I'm going back and I'm just redoing those campaigns on Indiegogo, and it's just because you have a different crowd. You have groups of people that just prefer Indiegogo as opposed to Kickstarter, and vice versa. So I have one fan base on one, and I'm developing another fan base on the other. And that's what I would suggest to anybody, because anyone who tells you, oh, you only use one or only use the other is a fool, because you're literally cutting yourself off at the knees. We're independent publishers. We need to make as much money as we can, because we're not doing it for ourselves. I'm paying my artists.
Right.
I'm not paying me. Like I take none of the money. I give it all to my artists. And if I have too much funds, all I do is I find another artist and I give it to them.
Right.
So it's like, it's a continuous thing for me. I mean, I don't know how you're planning on working it, but that's how I work it.
Yeah, I mean, it is I totally agree. I mean, I'll go wherever people will want to get the book. I don't understand where there's this, where people don't like the other. And I know that maybe there's some figures, or some people don't agree with some of the practices on some of the different platforms, but I've never experienced anything towards me that hurt my feelings from Kickstarter or Indiegogo. So I'm not, I haven't, they've only been great to me in customer service and all stuff like that. And so, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. And yeah, just trying to get yourself out there. They are tools. There are tools. And I think, there are things like GoFundMe. I guess people have been using that to, I've seen people use that to crowdfund comic books. There's a bunch of different ones across, in Brazil, for example. Rafael, my artist, used a crowdfunding website called, I think it's called, it starts with an R or something. I can't remember what it's called, but he used it to fund some of his books. And there's so many that they work similarly. And Patreon too. I've seen people actually put things on Patreon. And then they're like, okay, well, I'll do a page a week or a page every couple of days. And then you pay this for the Patreon, and then you'll get this specific thing when I'm done. So I think that there's so many ways now. There's a lot of options. Like if, so I would just say that, for, Ed Pisker, for example, he's doing his book, some kind of book, and he's doing it the Patreon way. And obviously he has a fan base. He's a published author. He's been around for quite some time. But at the same time, if your art is good and if you show it to people, they might just subscribe to your Patreon for extra stuff, Yeah.
No, listen, wherever you can make a buck, I would suggest making it, because that's just what we have to do. We have to feed the artists. Yeah, exactly. And they're hungry. Right. Now let's talk a little bit about bric-a-brac. What got you interested in doing, like that Christmas type of story?
For sure. As a kid, I really loved the Rankin Bass movies. They were a huge inspiration to me. and just and every in just my relationship with Christmas, I just loved you know, Esther the donkey, or these you know, some of the, and then the Here Comes Santa Claus, or not Here Comes Santa, the Year Without a Santa Claus, and then Santa Claus is Coming to Town, sorry, or you know, the Frosty, which is actually a Rankin Bass, you know, stuff like that. The Grinch is not Rankin Bass, I think it's Warner or Fox or something like that, but still, just amazing animated Christmas movies with a lot of influence. Like these, you know, the Rankin Bass movies are so awesome because it creates its own universe. Like people don't realize it, but you know, if you watch what is it? Santa Claus is Coming to Town. You know, it's his journey, and then that same character goes into Frosty Returns and Rudolph's Shiny New Year, and it's like the same puppet. You know, it's crazy, and it's his same character. It's really the first cinematic universe, and I was just like, wow. And there's a great video on YouTube that kind of breaks a lot of it down. I think it's just called, look up like Rankin Bass Cinematic Universe. It's great, right. But that was a huge inspiration. And then, you know, obviously The Nightmare Before Christmas took those Rankin Bass movies and kind of made it into this weird, you know, claymation puppet movie, which is hugely influential today. And that also influenced my book. And I would just say a lot of the great Christmas stories. I love Christmas. I love the imagery. And so I wanted to make a world and flesh out a world that existed and people lived in. And it was in turmoil because obviously we had to have a story. It would be, you know, have like a war going on this planet Christmas, because that's not usually something we think about when we think about happy Christmas objects. But yeah, I mean, that was really the catalyst for the entire thing, is those great movies and that kind of story structure where, you know, obviously it's a kid's story. So our main hero is going to win in the end of this book. There's no doubt about it. But the sentiment is still, you know, trying to flesh out those worlds. Like, not just make it a snowy world. I want to see what a Christmas beach looks like. I want to see what a Christmas forest looks like. I want to see what an underwater Christmas Atlantis looks like. I want to see a fully fleshed world that it just happens to be completely Christmas. And so that was a catalyst for Brick-a-Brack.
All right, that's cool. Now, you've done the first issue, you got the second issue in the works. Now, how many issues, like, I don't know how long do you think this arc is going to be?
It's going to be three. It's kind of like, it's like the first movie, you know, and I don't know if we'll ever do another one. I'm sure there's more conflicts that could occur on the planet. You know, obviously it's a war right now, but, you know, maybe there could be a drought, or I don't know, something crazy like that. And we're opening up the intergalactic, because it is a space story. It's like Rudolph plus Star Wars. There is outside intergalactic activity that happens, so it's a sci-fi story. It's a fantasy story, and there are definitely ways you can expand that, of course. But for this arc, it's going to be 3. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, basically.
That's cool. Now, your other series that you were collaborating with, you did the 11 stories.
Yeah.
What was the name on that one again?
It's called Unspeakable Text, is what it's called. It's
Unspeakable Text. Okay.
Yes.
So now, that's horror.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
It's horror and suspense, I would say.
Okay, horror and suspense. Okay, so how do you balance those two? Because, you know, like, how do you go from one to the other?
I don't know. But usually I don't write in a specific thing. If I have a calling, if I have an impulse to write something or make something, I just do it, you know, and whether it's funny or whether it's this or that. I like writing horror stories, and I think one of the reasons why first, the reason why I came up with the Unspeakable Text is because horror stories can be really short and effective. Like, you can make a 3-page comic book and it can be kind of like a suspense or horror, and it can still have a satisfying ending. There's no doubt about it. Whereas if you're trying to do an action story or something like that, it's really hard to do that. I mean, almost impossible. So I would say that the horror is really a great, and I think horror is underrepresented in comic books. I think it's a great platform to tell horror. And yeah, there are some difficulties with it, but, you know, the page reveal, there's all the tricks in the book you can use. However, I would just say that, the Unspeakable Text is kind of, the horror element is there's not gore or anything like that. It's very much the Twilight Zone. And so I just really get a kick out of writing horror stories and short little suspense stories that are kind of concept driven, and the characters in this weird place, and then there's some strange thing that happens to them, or there's this strange story. They're not necessarily horror stories. They're just fun, and I get such a kick out of writing them. I don't know why I do. I just kind of like, and then this is just this is a story that it's kind of action. It's children's, and then I have stories that are longer that are action adventure. I don't limit myself in what I can do. I don't know. I think that I just kind of go for it, even if I have no exposure to the genre itself. Like if I were to write something science fiction, I know Star Wars, but I don't know any real other science fiction. Like I haven't really engrossed myself in it. Or fantasy, for example. I've never read Lord of the Rings. I've never read Game of Thrones or any of these things. I don't really know a lot about it, but I know the basics of it, maybe. And so I just kind of go for it. I've never really delved into one genre so much that I kind of feel like I'm forced to write it, kind of like maybe Stephen King would, or all these different kind of writers, or or I've never really written a superhero book for that matter. Now I did write a book for my friend that is he was a character he created, and we're good friends, and it's going to be launching next month, and it is a superhero book. It's called Raptor, and I will be sharing it on my Twitter. But really, I've never really written superheroes because I don't find them that interesting, or at least I have a difficulty with them. But I still I still love their stories. I still love Superman stories and stuff. It's just they're hard to write. Really, I think it's hard for me to suspend my disbelief about superpowers. They're really difficult for me to understand. So, but I'll write any genre if I feel like I have a story for it. Basically.
Listen, I know what you mean. I write a story about a magical mouse, but yet I find Superman ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Right. So it's one of those. It's that weird dichotomy that we're dealing with. It's like
exactly.
It says Superman is weird, but I can write a magical mouse.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think any story can be interesting, but it's just I love Superman. I think there's some great Superman stories, but I don't know. I feel like maybe one point in my life I'll be able to write super stories. It's just I'm not feeling it right now. I don't think I could ever do like a super long run on the Flash or something. I just wouldn't have enough ideas or situations to keep putting in it. Like that's the thing. It's like, what do you do to the Flash after so many years of just so many stories happening to him? And it just I just have never had the desire to write for a superhero that's well established, or even create my own, really, unless it's like a parody or kind of like a flip on like the superhero concept. So yeah, because I just think that superheroes have been really put into every situation. I mean, yeah, it's just I obviously every story they say there's like 7 stories, right? But I think that I've never had the desire to write superheroes. I don't know why.
No. I get you. It's one of those things, it's either you have a desire for it or you don't.
Right. But there's some great, Mark Millar, he's great at it, and he clearly understands the formula to making a good superhero story. And he's proven that again and again. But he can diversify himself. He just released a book about magic or something. Or, he did the book with Sean Murphy about time travel. So it's just, I love guys like that. I love Mark Millar because he just does whatever he feels, or whatever he feels will get a Netflix deal, which is a motivation enough, right? Yeah. So
true enough. It depends on which way you're looking to go.
True.
All right. So Ryan, we've been at this for a little while, right? We're coming close to the end. We're not at the end yet, though. I got a few more questions for you.
Yeah.
But before we go into that, let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Yes. So I would say the best way to find me is at my last name Hääck, HAACK_pro on Twitter. That might be where you'll be able to find me, or my Facebook, which I post on. It's just my name, and I will add you. Or my Instagram, which is at Ryan Hääck _98. So all of those places you can find me. And all of those you'll find a link tree to get everything. My podcast, which I have on YouTube, which I read prose stories that I write that are original, or Unspeakable Text website, or this campaign, or a lot of other stuff. So,
all right, cool. Now, so on to these silly questions I like to ask everybody.
Yeah.
So, first one, if you had the choice of any artist to draw a cover for you, right? As a guest artist, do a cover for you. Anyone living or dead, comic book artist, and don't worry about and we don't have to worry about budget. Who would you get?
I think for bric-a-brac it would be Sean Galloway, because I love his work so much, and I think the Spectacular Spider-Man, there's something about it that I just really love Sean Galloway. And I would say second to that, Humberto Ramos with this book, I would say, because it just, come on, like, how could you, those are the two guys. They're the guys, like, who would do that kind of cartoony style, but still be really kind of, I think Sean Galloway, like, if you've looked at, his comic book work is amazing. And like, he has a webcomic on Webtoons called something Pirates, Shadow Pirates. I would suggest, or I would try to get people to look at that, because it's amazing work. He's an excellent illustrator, and you don't hear a lot about him anymore, but he used to be like all the rage when he was working on the show. And I guess he just told everybody that, or he kind of released some kind of article or something, that he was going to work on a Superman show with John Kent, and it was going to kind of be like a family relationship with and it should have been aired. That would have been amazing. But I love Sean Galloway, so I would say that he would be the guy.
Okay, that's fair. Now, on the other book, Unspeakable Text, who would you want to get to take over from that?
I would say maybe what's his name? The guy who did Swamp Thing with Alan Moore. I forget his name though.
John Totalman?
No. Who he did a Frankenstein book. Bernie Wrightson, exactly. Bernie Wrightson. That would be probably good, but Bernie Wrightson, I would say.
Okay, no, that's, yes, Bernie Wrightson, definitely an all-time favorite of mine.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now, Sean, if you were given Ryan, excuse me. I'm thinking Sean Galloway.
Yeah.
Ryan, if you're right, if you're thinking, if you were to get the golden ticket, and they called you up to the big companies and they said, listen, Ryan, and it doesn't matter, it could be Marvel, DC, but it could be any of these other companies, it could be Dark Horse, Image, and they said, Ryan, pick whatever you want. What would you want to write?
I would probably say like Devil Dinosaur, or something really, like maybe a Jack Kirby thing. Like, I always love the Etrigan a Demon, or something maybe like Commandy. I just love those ideas. I think that I love those goofy ideas. Like, Devil Dinosaur is so awesome. And I get that he's really silly and stuff, but I would say probably that. Maybe the Fantastic Four, maybe. But again, it's really hard to keep creating things for these characters that have been around for so long. Like, it's really difficult. Whereas with Commandy, he's had a long run, I guess, but not really. He's not in a published comic book anymore, certainly. And so with a lot of these characters, and obviously I think everyone does have a Batman story, but Batman is not like other superheroes, he does not have a power set, and that's huge. But yeah, there are a lot of Batman stories, but he's kind of like a James Bond. Like, you could really, or kind of like a Indiana Jones or something like that. You could really just keep going. You really could keep going with Batman forever, because he's probably one of the greatest characters ever.
Right.
Probably. I think definitely. And but I would say, yeah, like Commandy, or Devil Dinosaur, or something weird like that. Something that has an established lore and an established, kind of a set of principles, I suppose, but hasn't gone to where he could go. I love when characters take, like when Dan Slott made Spider-Man Dr. Octopus. I thought that was great. Or when Batman, Jim Gordon became Batman. I thought that was awesome, because those are the kind of cool changes that I know people hate, but I think that it makes for really cool storytelling. So that's kind of where I am with that.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. Now I got a few comparatives for you. So,
okay.
All right, we'll start. I'll start off with my two softballs. Captain America or Batman?
I would say Batman. I think Batman is just awesome.
Okay. Godzilla or Gamera?
Godzilla, I would say.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Kirk or Picard?
Picard.
Picard. Okay. Some of these are gonna have Y's, so we'll work our way into those.
Oh God. Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with Byrne or Perez.
John Byrne, I would say.
John Byrne.
Because I was looking at his X-Men stuff. I was like, wow, he's an awesome. George Perez is great, but John Byrne, man, if you look at the X-Men stuff, it's just him with what's his name? The guy who colored him.
Austin?
Yeah, Terry Austin. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
Yes. No, that stuff was incredible. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Star Wars, okay. Definitely. I could not say that.
No, what were you gonna say?
I know that Star Wars. I know that people would debate me probably about, Star Wars is a bigger universe than Lord of the Rings, though, so it's not really fair. But I would say that Star Wars. I think that
Okay, fair enough. Hellboy or Spawn?
Spawn.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's yeah. Let's see. I'll throw you a curve with this one.
Okay.
Let's see how much they got you reading in school. Bram Stoker or Mary Shelley?
Bram Stoker. Stoker. Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, I think that Dracula is a better story. Well, I think that both are great stories. Obviously, they've been around for a long time, but I don't know. I think that the Frankenstein story is cool, but the vampire thing, it's cool, man. It has more going on. Like Frankenstein can only go so far. Like he's kind of just a bumbling idiot. It's not really that cool after the reanimation. It's just like, okay. But with Dracula, there's a lore. It just seems like with a more intelligent character, it's just kind of cooler.
Right. All right. Now, I don't know. I don't know when was the last time you read the book, or if you had gotten to read the book. You've obviously watched the movies. Read the book. Frankenstein is actually Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein is the professor.
Right. Sorry. That's what I meant. Right.
Is actually very intelligent.
No, yeah. Victor, No, I have read but the monster is what I meant. Like, I'm just saying that the monster, and Victor Frankenstein dies at the end, right? So It's just, I think that it's like a really cool self-contained story, but I think that I like Dracula more. I just think that...
there's so much more has come out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. We've done a few of these, so we're going to do a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up.
For sure.
Okay. Okay. Grant Morrison or Neil Gaiman?
Grant Morrison. Come on. That's easy.
Okay. All right.
Not to say that I don't like Neil Gaiman. I think he's a genius. But Grant Morrison is just, he's amazing.
Oh, no, he is. He really is. I'm a huge fan of All-Star Superman.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
He's just so consistently good. So consistently good. I mean, not everything is great, but he's so consistent that...
Now, do you watch anime and manga?
No, not really. No.
Okay. So we'll skip those. Yeah, because it's funny. I expect like anyone under the age of 30, I expect them to be versed in anime and manga for some reason.
Yeah, I just don't. I just have never. I don't really watch a lot of television at all. So it's just I just have not really. I should.
There's some of it worth watching, and then there's some of it that isn't.
Right.
It's like anything else. You just got to pick and choose.
Right.
All the good stuff. All right, so I'll hit you up with this one. This will be our final question.
Okay.
Stan Lee or Jack Kirby?
Jack Kirby, of course.
Okay.
Not to say that. Well, there's drama there. Well, I just think I don't want to get into drama because I think that that's an everlasting debate that we'll never know the answer to. I don't think. Right. But I think that there's a lot of things Stan Lee did for Marvel that like there wouldn't be Marvel movies without him. I don't think. Right. And I think that he was making records and trying to get movie deals in the 60s and 70s, and he's really ahead of his time. But I just think creatively, I think Jack Kirby is just amazing. I mean, he really did. And I'm not going to get into the debate of if he created characters or not, but just looking at the characters he did create, and we know that he created the New Gods, Commandy, the Devil Dinosaur, Miracle Man, are amazing characters, even on their own. Even if he didn't create the Fantastic Four, even if they didn't exist, just those characters alone are amazing. So I think we can confidently say that Jack Kirby is just so brilliant that, I think that I was just running through the Lower East Side, and I ran by his house. That was his house. That was it's just, they should memorialize it. And I know there's a Jack Kirby museum, but to think of that, his childhood home in the Lower East Side it's totally torn apart. It looks like garbage. There should be something there, and there isn't. And I think that he's never really gotten his comeuppance. And I know that a lot of people in the comic book community will defend him, but I think, and his art has been in museums, and he has his own foundation, but I think that he deserves more comeuppance. He deserves a lot more than he has, and he has daughters and sons that maybe might make that happen, and I think are fighting for that. But Jack Kirby is just one of those guys that comes around maybe once every generation of people, maybe once every 100 years. He's like Frank Frazetta, and him are just unbelievable, in that period of time, just completely unparalleled to anyone else, I think. So.
All right, that's cool, Ryan. We made it. We made it to the end. Awesome.
Yes.
So, please, one more time, let everybody know where they can find you and they can find your work.
Yeah. So Instagram at Ryan Hääck _pro, _ 98. Sorry, with Instagram. On Twitter, it is Hääck _pro, and then that's it really. On Facebook, it's my name. Those are the websites I use, and I post every day, usually, especially during campaign time. I try to post every day. But yeah, you can find my podcast, which I post once every 3 days or so. I have an original short story I read of my own. The Unspeakable Text website is always up. Short films and stuff of that nature you will be able to see. So yeah, that is kind of what is going on. So you can check me out on all of those things.
All right, cool. So everybody, please hit like, hit subscribe. Go check out Ryan's Indiegogo. It's an awesome book, bric-a-brac. I picked up the first issue. I'm picking up the second issue, and I'm looking forward to the third issue. So yeah, let's make this happen for Ryan, because this is a great book and it definitely deserves a backing. All right. So thank you so much, everybody, and I'll be talking to everybody soon. So like I said, hit like, hit subscribe. Go check out my Indiegogo, the Oswald Chronicles, and I'll be talking to you all later. Have a good one.